You're listening to the WrestleHavoc Podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. We talk all that goes on in the realm of WWE and AEW every week. And now, here's your host, the one that will give you a reality check on pro wrestling, Flamin' Ricky DeReyes. This is the WrestleHavoc Podcast.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the AEW Dynamite review right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast. I am, of course, yours truly, Flamin' Ricky DeReyes. It is Championship Fight Night on AEW Dynamite, and overall, I thought this show delivered from top to bottom. This show was probably one of the best Dynamites I've seen because the match quality was absolutely insane. We had MJF, yes, the world champion holding the Triple B, wrestling a future star in Konosuke Takeshita. We had a possible, and I mean this wholeheartedly, I know everybody in the community is saying this, but it is the absolute truth, a possible match of the year candidate with BRYAN DANIELSON wrestling Roosh, and if BRYAN DANIELSON wins this match, he will wrestle MJF in a 60-minute Iron Man match at the Revolution pay-per-view in San Francisco, March 5th. We had Top Flight and AR Fox wrestle the Elite for the AEW Trios titles, and it was absolute mayhem. And, of course, we had the main event, that being the Acclaimed wrestling the Gun Club, or the Guns, whatever the hell you want to call it, the Ass Boys, for the AEW World Tag Team titles. And was it the right decision to put those tag team titles on the Guns? I have mixed feelings on that, but I'll talk about that, all this, right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the frickin' referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Also, the WrestleHavoc Podcast is also available on audio platforms. It is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and Google Podcasts. So if you guys want to listen to the WrestleHavoc Podcast in audio format, it is available on all of those platforms. And I will still continue on to try to upload all those episodes that are not listed on those all audio platforms as soon as I can. I am so behind uploading those because I've been mainly focused on the channel. But we had Championship Fight Night right here on AEW Dynamite, and again, it was a banger frickin' show. Dynamite has been really good these past couple of weeks, and it's safe to say that AEW's match quality is absolutely top-notch. They have always been top-notch. Let's be 100% honest with ourselves. Since the inception of AEW, their match quality has been fantastic, and they're creative as well. And, of course, MJF is killing it as the world champion. We got MJF versus BRYAN DANIELSON officially for Revolution in the Iron Man match, which I'm absolutely freaking excited about. And literally, after that match that will happen on March 5th at the pay-per-view, all those MJF haters are going to literally shut their mouths because MJF is going to prove why he is the best at his craft. But we'll be talking about AEW Dynamite right here. Of course, our opening match is none other than the world champion holding the Triple B, MJF, taking on the Japanese phenomenon, as Excalibur states on commentary, Konosuke Takeshita. Of course, Konosuke Takeshita has been making waves in AEW these past couple of months. Fantastic fucking wrestler. I put this guy over so many fucking times on this channel. Like, bro, I even stated it last week. Put the fucking All-Atlantic title on Konosuke Takeshita. That will bring that title. It will basically give the All-Atlantic title some meaning when Konosuke Takeshita has that title. And not only that, Roosh as an All-Atlantic champion would be fucking crazy because the match that Roosh had with BRYAN DANIELSON, holy shit. But we're going to be talking about MJF versus Konosuke Takeshita, of course. This is an AEW World Title Eliminator match, and Excalibur stated on commentary, if Takeshita wins this World Title Eliminator match, he will get a title shot against MJF next week on Dynamite. I'm not really the biggest fan of the championship eliminator matches. I never understood the point, and this goes to the case with WWE as well, because when Vince McMahon was running things, he had the championship contenders matches, which basically meant if you wrestle the champion and you beat the champion in the middle of the ring, that means you get a title shot against that same person for the title. I never understood that. Why couldn't you just have a number one contenders match? But nonetheless, MJF and Konosuke Takeshita, when they announced this match, sign me the fuck up. Take my money. I mean, granted, this show was free to watch. It was on TBS, but damn, I would have paid a whole hell of a lot of money to see this match go out on pay-per-view. So we had Konosuke Takeshita versus MJF. The match starts. MJF offers a handshake, and both shake hands, but then Takeshita gets trapped. Takeshita takes out MJF, and then he goes, he basically goes after MJF at this point. He hits repeated rights. MJF regains control, but then Takeshita immediately goes for the jumping knee. He wants to go for the power drive knee, but then the referee gets pulled by MJF because MJF is an asshole, and he proved it in that promo that he cut, which was in-fucking-sane, by the way. I'll talk about that later on. But he pulls the referee. MJF immediately regains control and works on the left arm of Takeshita. MJF is in control over Takeshita, and then we get, I believe we heard, "Let's go asshole, asshole sucks" chants. I believe that was the chant in El Paso. And another thing I got to say about this show is that the crowd in El Paso, Texas was amazing. You guys in El Paso, shout out to all the fans in El Paso, Texas. You guys tore the house down on that AEW Dynamite show. But MJF then drives the left arm of Takeshita onto the campus. MJF actually working on the left arm is a common occurrence throughout the entirety of this match. After that, MJF applies the hammerlock and then basically hits a DDT with the hammerlock applied, which looked insane. We got a cover by MJF and a near fall. MJF then tries to send Takeshita onto the other corner, but then Takeshita holds on. MJF then takes out his arm once again. Takeshita then counters and hits MJF with an exploder suplex, landing MJF onto the bottom corner turnbuckle. After that, he hits a running boot into the corner. He goes for it once again, and once Takeshita tries to go for that running boot once again, MJF ducks and lands in the corner after that. Then MJF goes for the roll-up, and we get a near fall. MJF then tries to elevate up the top rope, but then gets caught with a kick on the head by Konosuke Takeshita. Then Takeshita manages to hit the brainbuster in the center of the ring. We get a cover by Takeshita and a near fall. Takeshita then goes to the top, and then he goes to the top. This is actually one of my favorite moments of the entire match. Of course, Eddie Guerrero, he pays tribute to Eddie Guerrero, does the signature Eddie Guerrero dance, and then hits the frog splash after that, which was freaking awesome. Nice tribute, little tribute right there in El Paso, Texas, for Eddie Guerrero by Konosuke Takeshita. So after he hits the frog splash, he goes for the cover, but he gets, of course, a near fall. At this point, Takeshita is selling his left arm. Takeshita tries to go for another brainbuster, but then MJF counters. He then takes Takeshita for a pile driver, but then Takeshita reverses and drives him down with a tombstone pile driver. It looks like he was about to go for the tombstone and holds on to him, but then manages to hit the deadlift German suplex after that. So he basically drives MJF down to the mat, which looked like a tombstone pile driver. It looked like a modified tombstone pile driver, but then held on to MJF and actually went for the German suplex, which is fantastic. Takeshita is fucking amazing. He tries to hit the knee, but then MJF avoids it and goes to the outside. Takeshita then misses a crossbody over the top rope onto the outside when MJF goes in the ring. MJF then leaves the ring. He continues to work onto the arm of Takeshita, but then he takes Takeshita, but then Takeshita reverses and sends MJF to the ring post after that. Both are back in the ring. Takeshita goes for a kick, and then we get a bunch of "You deserved it" chants by El Paso, Texas. Of course, that is leading towards MJF after he got hit onto the post by Takeshita. Takeshita then takes, he then takes Takeshita, but then he wants to pick him up. MJF actually went to the top beforehand. Takeshita then counters with the lariat. Yes, he went for the lariat on Takeshita, but what happens after that is MJF, after getting hit with the lariat, actually landed on his feet, and after that, he hits a thrust kick. We get an elbow by Takeshita, followed by a rolling elbow, but then Takeshita comes back with a lariat. Takeshita goes for the cover, and we get a near fall. Immediately after, MJF transitions into the Salt of the Earth Fujiwara armbar, but then Takeshita rolls him up to try to escape from the armbar, but then we get a near fall. MJF then gets thrown to the outside, but then Takeshita goes for the somersault onto the outside. Yeah, he goes for the somersault, which looked fucking awesome. Takeshita then takes MJF back into the ring. Takeshita then pulls down his knee pad, so he's basically taking his time because he really wants to demolish MJF with his running knee. But then MJF, of course, retreats to the outside, being the smart motherfucker that he is, almost getting hit with Konosuke Takeshita's knee. On the outside, MJF gets taken back into the ring, but then MJF uses the referee once again as his shield. MJF then continues once again to work onto the left arm of Konosuke Takeshita. MJF then misses the knee drop, and he goes for a right, but then Takeshita fires back with an elbow of his own. He goes for repeated elbows, followed by the thumb to the eyes by MJF. MJF then counters Takeshita's Hurricane Rana attempt into a powerbomb backbreaker. After that, MJF sells his knee. And then what happens after that, we get a cut. Actually, no. He sells his knee, but then once Takeshita actually gets up, MJF runs towards Takeshita, but then gets caught into the Blue Thunder Bomb by Konosuke Takeshita. We get a cover and a near fall. He then hits the running knee. We get a cover and a near fall when MJF gets his foot onto the bottom rope. Takeshita then goes to the middle and the first rope from the apron. Takeshita then manages to struggle. He then misses the springboard senton, but then MJF then applies the Salt of the Earth submission. Takeshita then tries to go for the ropes, but then MJF rolls back. MJF then continues to apply it, but then Takeshita taps out, and MJF wins the match, beating Konosuke Takeshita in a fantastic match after applying the Salt of the Earth submission and just driving that fucking arm Takeshita like crazy. This was a fantastic match. I absolutely loved this match for what it was, man. Again, as soon as they announced MJF, because you really knew that they were leading to it because they were kind of building up to this match for the past 2 weeks. But man, you know, when they announced this match next week, I was super excited because I knew, and a lot of other fans knew across the community, basically everybody knew that MJF and Konosuke Takeshita were going to be delivering a fucking classic match, and that is what they did on this Dynamite show. MJF is absolutely amazing at what he does, and for all the naysayers of MJF, I want you guys to take notice because this is only a glimpse of what you're basically going to be seeing at Revolution, because at Revolution, MJF is basically going to shut everybody up. That is exactly what MJF is going to be doing. He's going to shut all the haters up because MJF can actually wrestle. I've known this for fucking years, and people are saying MJF can't wrestle for shit. MJF could wrestle. Watch his match with Darby Allin at Full Gear 2021. That match was probably one of the best matches of MJF's career, in my opinion. Watch his match with CM Punk last year at Revolution in 2022. That was an amazing dog collar match, and the story itself was fantastic. He's good at his job, and he proved that even later with his promo. After the match, MJF knocks down the referee. He then takes Takeshita and hits him with the Dynamite Diamond Ring. And then MJF takes Takeshita and goes for repeated rights. At this point, Takeshita is busted open, and then Bryan Danielson runs to the ring. And as soon as Bryan Danielson runs to the ring, basically what happens is MJF dips once again like Sonic the Hedgehog. Fantastic shit. We got a video package of Samoa Joe, who was the newly crowned TNT champion after beating Darby Allin. I've given you guys my thoughts on Samoa Joe winning back the TNT championship. I'm a fan of it, but at the same time, I'm not a fan of it. I'm a fan of it because of the fact that we finally got the King of Television back holding another championship once again. I thought Samoa Joe's King of Television persona was absolutely fantastic. But I will say, I don't like it at the same time because of the fact that you're hot potatoing the TNT championship. I get why putting the title on Darby made total sense because of the fact that AEW was in Darby Allin's hometown of Seattle. I totally understand that, and they wanted to send the fans home happy. But at the same time, if you really think about it, what was the point of Samoa Joe dropping that title if Darby Allin was going to lose it a couple of weeks later, even after Darby Allin was defending that title almost every week? I even made the argument before Darby Allin dropped that title that the TNT title was starting to be, revitalized, because last year in 2022, I made the argument that 2022 was arguably the worst year so far for the TNT Championship because of the fact that not only the fact that it was hot potatoed between both Scorpio Sky and Sammy Guevara, but because of the fact that there was no basic direction for the TNT Championship. Wardlow had that title, and I'm asking y'all a question. What did really Wardlow do with that championship? He didn't really do anything with that title, and honestly, I'm not really that excited about Wardlow and Samoa Joe again. The Wardlow, in my opinion, my personal opinion, AEW dropped the ball on Wardlow, and the train has just left. The train has left when it came to Wardlow. And if they're going to go where I think they're going to be going with the future match between Samoa Joe and Wardlow at the Revolution pay-per-view, I honestly do not want Wardlow to win. That is just my opinion. I'm just like, what really is special about Wardlow, in my opinion? I feel like they kind of dropped the ball on Wardlow, but that is just me, and that's my opinion. All right. So Samoa Joe, he talks about how he stands here as the ROH TV champion and our rightful TNT champion. And he says, Darby is a worthy and brave adversary, but Wardlow isn't. He takes his championship. He's taken his championship and his scalp. And what more does he want from him? He will expose for his secrets, and he will take everything from him. So it looks like this feud between Samoa Joe and Wardlow is definitely heating up. We then get another AEW Championship Eliminator match. This time it's the women's title, that being Jamie Hayter, the AEW Women's World Champion, wrestling the Bunny. Relatively short match. It was a pretty good match. Of course, it was pretty obvious that Jamie Hayter was going to win. There was no chance that she was going to lose to the fucking Bunny of all people. Shout out to the Bunny, by the way. She's great. Both lock up. We got a side headlock takeover by Jamie Hayter. And then and this is actually a pretty neat note in the match. So, she applied that side headlock takeover and spun around while she had it applied on the Bunny, which is fucking awesome. I love Jamie Hayter, man. She's great. We get repeated shoulder tackles by Hayter. She runs into a back elbow by the Bunny, but then applies a choke using her knees on the ropes on Jamie Hayter. Then later, Hayter suplexes the Bunny onto the mat. Hayter then gets caught onto the knee and then hits a neckbreaker onto the middle rope. And then on the outside, she hits a suplex on Jamie Hayter on the steel steps after that. Once we're in commercial break, during the break, both women are on the apron. Hayter drops down the Bunny face first onto the apron, and once we're back from break, Britt Baker and Penelope Ford are actually having some sort of interaction. Basically, Britt Baker, of course, being basically kissing Jamie Hayter's ass throughout her entire title reign, is basically what she's doing is she has a fan sign basically putting over Jamie Hayter, and then Penelope Ford just comes in, snatches that poster away from her, and just rips it in half. So yeah, that's that. And then after that, Hayter goes for the suplex, and then she drops her again with the suplex, a second suplex, I should say. And then she goes for the Ripcord Lariat, a.k.a. the Haterade. And then Jamie Hayter gets the win over the Bunny. Overall thoughts on this match, it was pretty obvious once again that Jamie Hayter was going to be getting the win. But, of course, this is to showcase Jamie Hayter's strengths because she is doing very well as AEW Women's World Champion. And I'm very interested to see basically what the future holds for Jamie Hayter and that women's title. Now, we all know, let's be honest, we all know eventually Britt Baker is going to be turning on Jamie Hayter, and then you have another feud set in stone right there. But another feud we have to talk about is the homegrown talent versus the established talent feud that they are doing in AEW in the women's division. Of course, Saraya and Toni Storm are current heels right now, and they had a backstage interview, and they congratulate Jamie for her win, but she says, Saraya, that being, says that she's like everybody else in AEW. She's a loser. And she brings in Leva Bates. They basically kind of put her over in a jokingly manner. The AKA the Librarian. Y'all remember the Librarian from 2019? Yeah, neither did I. And she puts her over. But then after that, they beat her down from behind. And then they grab a piece of spray paint, just like they did last week, and draw L, a green spray paint, and they spray paint on Leva Bates on her front and the back. L, standing for loser. And they both go straight to the camera, and Saraya says that they are here to take over. What are my thoughts on them utilizing spray paint, kind of like the NWO? As much as I like Saraya and Toni Storm, I'm not a big fan of them doing that. If they're trying to pay tribute to the NWO, that's great. But again, to me, it kind of comes off as like a knockoff. I'm sorry. And look, this is coming from a fan of Toni Storm and Saraya. I don't like them just spray painting L. I don't know. To me, I look at that and I just cringe. So hopefully they don't do that anymore, but knowing AEW, they're probably going to do it some more. But aside from that, let's see where this leads to. I mean, again, this feud is definitely getting very, very interesting week by week. There's finally some story in some direction, in my opinion, in the women's division of AEW. And with this whole Saraya and Toni Storm thing going on, who knows what the hell is going to be happening. And I guarantee you, I genuinely believe that a lot of things are going to be happening at the Revolution pay-per-view because of the fact that, again, number one, we don't even know who Jamie Hayter's opponent is going to be. But number two, there's more wrestlers that are going to be joining, in my opinion, Toni Storm and Saraya. A lot of people are speculating Thunder Rosa. And now, granted, you got to ask yourself, well, Thunder Rosa is not established if you really think about it. But when she first came into AEW, she was not signed to AEW. She was actually the NWA Women's Champion. So if you really think about it, she was kind of established. She wasn't a part of the WWE machine, unlike Toni Storm and Saraya were. But Thunder Rosa, when she first came in, she definitely had some establishment. So maybe Thunder Rosa could turn heel and join the group. I have no idea, but I'm very interested to see where this is going to go. And overall, I'm actually very excited to see where this is going to be leading to. Here was one of the most talked about backstage segments in AEW. And of course, I am talking about the world champion. Yes, the AEW World Heavyweight Champion, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. This man is a frickin' savage. And I mean that wholeheartedly. This man is such a savage, and he will go to the lengths. He doesn't matter what boundaries he breaks. MJF will go to the lowest of lows, as if we haven't known that already, and just be an downright complete asshole. And that's what makes MJF great. And you want to know how impactful this MJF promo got? Apparently the police were called. A lot of police were called during this promo. I'm actually going to pull it up right now on Twitter. Let me look it up, because I could have sworn I saw a tweet. Yep, right here. So apparently police, and I'm reading this off of a Facebook page or a Facebook snapshot. Somebody snapshot this. Police received over 300 phone calls last night. Following the MJF promo last night on AEW Dynamite, the Nassau Police Department reported that they were flooded with over 300 phone calls following the promo by MJF. The police have released a statement saying that they will be investigating the claims, but believe it was due with a fictional story on a television show. I don't know what to say about that, but MJF, there was this tweet by Humble Wrestling, which I retweeted on my Twitter account. And shout out to Humble Wrestling, by the way. He basically quote tweeted and stated in all caps, "Professional wrestling is back." I don't know what to say, but number one, MJF is a menace, and MJF is the true definition of a heel because he has that old school philosophy. He has that old school philosophy of having the people hate you, and you have to go to the lowest of lows. And that's what people need to understand about MJF. He wants you to hate him. And that's really what a lot of heels really need to do in this day and age of pro wrestling. Because if you think about it, we live in an age in wrestling where the heels primarily get cheered. And I'm not saying MJF does not get cheered, because he does. But MJF fights so hard to try to do his job and just go so low to the point where it will start offending you and be like, you know what, this guy is really such an asshole. That is what MJF is trying to do. MJF, at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, is doing his job, and he's doing his job well as a heel. He's keeping kayfabe alive, and he's doing his job relatively well. That is the old school philosophy of a professional wrestling heel, and that's why MJF is so good at his craft. So, nonetheless, let's talk about this MJF promo that he cut in this backstage segment. So, Lexi Nair, of course, is trying to get a word with MJF. She enters his locker room. MJF immediately says, "Come on, sweetheart, sit down." And he begins to cut his promo. It says that Takeshita was talked about by everyone and saying that he was the next big thing. And he gives him credit. He's really good. But he is no match for a generational talent like himself. And he tells Takeshita not to blame himself, because nobody is better than him. BRYAN DANIELSON treated him like a scumbag. Same thing as the fans. He doesn't know that if they hate him because he's twisted, but here's what he does know. He knows that a man doesn't know what he's truly made of when he is faced off with adversity. And he remembers the first time when he was faced with adversity. It was his first time in high school. Well, not his first time in high school, but it was when he was in high school. He was running around with his beautiful blue Camaro, and he kept on getting speed ticket after speed ticket after speed ticket, and he was 1 point away from getting his license revoked. And then junior prom hit, and him and his football buddies showed up in their Letterman suits and hooked up with all of the fine hotties that Long Island had to offer. But there was one girl in particular, and for legal reasons, let's just call her Liv. That was funny as fuck when he said Liv. When he said Liv, everybody, including myself, immediately thought Liv Morgan. That was the funniest shit I've ever heard. He talks about this girl, and they call her Liv. She was so beautiful. Amazing skin, amazing light brown eyes, and the most affectionate smile that we've ever seen. She was perfect. He came up to her and said, "Baby, let's go for a spin." And they both hopped on his Camaro, and he got to drive, and she, distracted him. And you heard the crowd in the background just immediately just go like, oh, funny as hell. And once she finished that up, it was time to put the pedal to the metal. And unfortunately, that night, it was raining like cats and dogs. Then they hydroplaned. And then they went roaring, spinning off the road. And he panicked. He tried to put his foot onto the brakes, but instead, he hit the accelerator. And at 90 miles an hour, boom, a collision hit. And they hit the telephone pole. And when he woke up, he came to taste pennies in his mouth. He looked confused, and his hands were covered in blood. And he looked at his sweet Liv, and her head cracked the windshield. He put his finger below her nose, and thank God she was breathing. But then in the background, police sirens began to roar. And there it was, Dragon. Adversity. And in that moment, he found out the type of man he was. And you want to know who that was, Dragon? He is the type of guy who grabbed Liv's lifeless body and moved it onto the other side so when the cops showed up, he wasn't the one driving. This fucking guy is a savage. Like, what the fuck? You are, like, MJF is, like, the most savage human being I've ever seen in my fucking life. Holy shit. And then he proceeds to scream. In this life, there are winners and there are losers. The history books do not care if you get the job done. If you want to talk about exposing him, Dragon, he will expose him. He will be met with adversity, and everyone watching this at home will know that he doesn't have the guts, the temerity, or the balls to do whatever it takes to be a winner. And there will be no match on March 5th at Revolution. And there will be no Iron Man match. And he will never come close. And then he kisses his championship belt and then continues to speak, holding the most prestigious prize of them all, the Triple B, because yes, Brian, he is a scumbag, and he is damn proud of it. And then he ends up laughing in the end, showing the type of character that MJF is, the asshole that he is, the horrible human being that MJF is. That's our world champion, ladies and gentlemen. What are my thoughts on this fucking promo? I don't know what to say. We haven't had heels like MJF in years. I mean, yeah, a lot of people talk about Tommaso Ciampa being like the crazy human being that he was in that feud against Johnny Gargano, and I agree. But damn, this man is like a menace. And I mean that in the most kayfabe way possible. He is a menace to fucking society. Holy shit. That MJF promo really set the tone for MJF's character. I mean, MJF's character was already like set up. Let's be honest. You know, we already knew how MJF was, but man, holy shit. This man is just insane. Just absolutely freaking insane. Insane human being. But it was a fantastic promo on MJF's part. The Acclaimed have a backstage interview and says that Billy Gunn basically states that he will have their back. Great. BRYAN Danielson is backstage with Konosuke Takeshita. He gets interviewed, but before he speaks, the door slams shut. Yes, the door slams shut. And what happens is it looks like Rush's assistant locks Danielson in the trainer's room. So we then lead to BRYAN Danielson versus Rush. What happens is Rush comes out. MJF gets the microphone and says that he tells Aubrey Edwards, who's the referee, we need to talk. Considering the AEW rulebook, Danielson is scheduled for a match in shitty El Paso. He's not here. We get a bunch of asshole chants and we get a bunch of perro chants, which was the funniest shit I've ever seen. And then MJF states, no habla español, and then demands that Aubrey rings the bell right now. Danielson finally breaks the door and runs to the ring, rushes his ass to the ring. And MJF demands that Aubrey Edwards counts faster, but it looked like MJF was actually revolting towards MJF and just continuing to count at the same pace, or even just counting slow, which is amazing. Let me actually lower this right there. There we go. My laptop was literally about to die. Holy shit. It's 21%, ladies and gentlemen. How do you think we can actually scroll through this really well? But never mind. MJF says that no habla español, and he demands that Aubrey Edwards counts faster. But Danielson finally gets back into the ring. Immediately, as soon as he gets in the ring, Rush goes straight for the attack. And let me tell you guys, this match was a fucking amazing encounter between both Rush and BRYAN Danielson. These men delivered a match of the year candidate. And I am not even joking. This match was off the charts. So Rush goes straight for the attack. We get a shotgun dropkick by Rush. We get a couple of chops by Rush, and then Rush goes on the injured shoulder of Danielson. And then we get a couple of chops by Rush. Danielson fights back with a chop, but then both exchange chops. We get a couple of headbutts by Danielson, followed by a boot by Bryan Danielson. Rush then goes for the German suplex, followed by a running knee. After that, Rush then is on the outside, sending Danielson twice onto the barricade. Rush gets in the ring, but then gets out, and then he hits the shotgun dropkick onto the side of the head of Danielson. And then he drives his head of Danielson onto the chair. At this point, Danielson is busted open. And then we get a chop by Rush. Rush goes back into the ring and then goes back out. We get repeated headbutts by Rush after that. And then he sends Danielson onto the barricade again, shoulder first. Rush goes for the right hand. And we got a chop by Rush. And let me tell you guys, chops are a common occurrence on this fucking match. Rush then sends Danielson back into the ring. But then Danielson is just covered in fucking blood. He's covered in fucking blood. And then after that, Danielson tries to fight back with repeated rights. Both men are on the apron. Both then exchange chops, but then Rush hits a frickin' belly-to-belly throw on Danielson from the apron to the floor. Once we're back from commercial break, Rush is in control over Danielson, but then Danielson applies the label lock submission. After that, Rush walks to the outside, but then Danielson goes for the tope suicida. But then he sends Rush onto the barricade, basically in retaliation for what Rush did in the beginning portions of the match. And then after that, Danielson goes for a running knee. Once we're back in the ring, Danielson goes for a shotgun dropkick, but then Danielson goes for repeated rights after. Instead of yes, so when he goes for the yes kicks, the fans usually would chant yes, but the fans in El Paso, Texas, instead of chanting yes, they chanted C, which is yes in Spanish, which was amazing to see. So they were chanting C, C, C. And then both exchange chops. We get repeated kicks and chops by Danielson. We get an overhand chops, and these overhand chops were brutal as fuck by Rush. We get a running kick by Danielson into the corner, and then Danielson runs into an elbow by Rush. And then he goes for the straight jacket pile driver. We get a cover and a near fall. After that, Rush goes for repeated strikes on Danielson into the corner, but then runs into the Busaiku knee by Danielson. Danielson goes for the cover, but what happens? We get a kick out by Rush. So Rush is not out yet, because keep in mind, MJF the previous week paid Rush all that money. Cover and a near fall. Both exchange shots again. We get a headbutt by Rush, and then both proceed to just slap the living shit out of each other. After that, we get a headbutt by Rush. Both then slap each other once again, and they were just getting hit with headbutts. Like, they headbutted each other like crazy after this. Rush goes for the German suplexes, and then after that, Rush runs into a boot. But then when he runs into the boot by Danielson, Danielson managed to hit the Busaiku knee, and we get a cover, and Danielson wins the match. And then after the match, MJF goes into the ring. MJF, an injured Bryan Danielson, hits Danielson with the Dynamite Diamond Ring, just like he did to Konosuke Takeshita after that. And then MJF applies the arm bar on Danielson. He takes out security and applies the Salt of the Earth submission once again. I cannot describe into words how insane this fucking match was. This match was off the damn charts. I absolutely loved every portion of this match. And literally everything about this match just made it that damn well done. Like, I don't know what to say, but hats off to Danielson and Rush. Rush is fucking amazing. Like, I always knew Rush was great, but I didn't really how do I put it into words? Like, I knew Rush was great, but he wasn't on my list of my favorite wrestlers in AEW. After that match, Rush just became one of my favorites in AEW. I'm being that serious. Rush is fucking amazing. And the match he had with Danielson was just hard-hitting and everything that you would expect from not only a Rush match, but a Bryan Danielson match. And it's only going to get better as we head towards Revolution on March 5th, because it's official. We have an official Iron Man match between both MJF and Bryan Danielson. And this match, after this Iron Man match is over, MJF is going to prove to the world why not only he is the best of his craft with promos, but why he is one of the best in-ring performers. Because you still have people think on social media that MJF cannot wrestle. I do not know why people think that. MJF can wrestle. Just watch the match that he had with Darby Allin back at Full Gear 2 years ago. That match was amazing, and that was the opening match. Watch the dog collar match that he had with CM Punk last year at Revolution. That was absolutely perfect. Or the first CM Punk match that he had. Literally, this man is just fantastic at what he does. Watch the Ricky Starks match. Watch the match that he had with Konosuke Takeshita. MJF can fucking wrestle. Okay? I don't understand why people think MJF can't wrestle. Absolutely ridiculous. These are the same people that complained about the fact that, oh my God, the MJF and CM Punk match went too long at Revolution. I'm sorry. It's all about storytelling. And I always stated this. When a match is too long, but you're invested in the story, you have no right to complain how long the match was because you already were fucking invested in the story that they were telling in the goddamn ring. Okay? That's all I'm going to say about that. But this match was absolutely fantastic. All right. Usually I don't do these types of things, but we're going to be going to a quick, and I mean quick, commercial break. And what I mean by commercial break, I'm just going to show the thumbnail because I actually have to frickin' plug my laptop to a charger because right now my computer is, let's see, 12%. So I got to, got to charge this shit. It's only going to take maybe around, I don't know, less than a minute, probably 30 seconds. So I'm going to scramble my ass right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast. Stay tuned.
You're listening.
All right, we're back right here on the show. I was literally scrambling my ass to try to get the charger on the computer because like my computer was like literally dying so quick. Like at least like less than 10 minutes ago, it was like 33% and now it's at 11. Keep in mind, I'm recording this through OBS. So like, holy shit. Thank God in heaven that I managed to charge my laptop, so I don't have to worry anymore, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit technical difficulty on the show. It happens, but you know what? We gotta keep a straight face and do our job properly. Because you know what? I want to give you the best damn show that I could possibly give you on this Dynamite review. And you know what? Shit happens. Flamin' Rick all the time does his shtick, but hey, man, shit happens. I'm trying to keep y'all entertained, by the way. All right. We got the Practical Jokers backstage with Tony Schiavone. Talk about how they stole Chris Jericho's Bat Floyd. So, yeah, it's very interesting to say the least. We got the Garcia and Guevara Gauntlet, which was a pretty relatively short match, to be quite honest with you. I was not, when they first announced the Garcia-Guevara Gauntlet, and actually... in fact, I actually skipped over the match, and I just realized it right now. Let's talk about the Garcia-Guevara Gauntlet. That was it was a fine match overall. When they first announced it last week, I immediately was thinking, oh wait, are they going to have Ricky Starks go, one-on-one with each wrestler like every week? But then they said it was a gauntlet, so I was like, oh wait, no, it's a gauntlet, so it's like one whole match, but like Ricky Starks has to wrestle like every member. But what were my thoughts when they first announced the Garcia-Guevara Gauntlet? I wasn't really that excited about it because, number one, Ricky Starks already beat Chris Jericho, so really, what's the point? I understand that they're trying to tell a story here, but again, another thing is AEW, at the time, like a year ago, I was like, they don't really do a lot of that, and not only that, when it comes to MJF, it's totally cool. Bryan Danielson is doing this exact same thing, but AEW tends to have a tendency of doing the same thing with a lot of its wrestlers, in which if they want to get a title match, they have to go through constant hoops. They do that all the time with MJF, but I feel like with MJF it's an exception because MJF tries to make it as good as it is. But when you do it with other people that are not MJF, I think that's where you run into problems. And, them having Ricky Starks go through a gauntlet, wasn't really my cup of tea, in my opinion. But I genuinely believe that they're going to be having a match at the Revolution show. Ricky Starks starts with 2.0. Of course, Angelo Parker goes for the suplex. He stomps Starks. We get a cover into near fall. He hits a dropkick on Ricky Starks. We get a roll-up by Parker and near fall. Starks then takes Angelo Parker and goes for the Rochambeau, but then Parker escapes. Starks hits the spear, but then we get a cover, and Starks pins immediately Angelo Parker. And then Matt Menard comes in, but then Starks goes for a roll-up on Matt Menard, and then we get a cover, and Starks immediately pins Matt Menard. So he basically scrambled through 2.0. Next entrant is Daniel Garcia, but then when Garcia comes out, Sammy Guevara comes out. And Garcia's like, wait, what the hell? Why is Sammy Guevara coming out? But then both men surround Ricky Starks around the ring. But then Garcia starts with Ricky Starks. Garcia goes straight for the attack. We get a hammer throw on Starks into the corner, but then we get repeated chops by Ricky Starks. He then runs into an elbow by Garcia. Once we are in commercial break and once we're back, we get a roll-up by Ricky Starks, and we get a near fall. Garcia then catches Guevara in front, or I should say, he catches Garcia in a front guillotine. And after that, Starks gets himself up, but then Starks counters into a powerbomb, but then Starks goes to the top. Garcia then comes in, and then he hits a suplex, but then Starks counters into a brainbuster. We get a cover into near fall, but then Starks picks up Daniel Garcia, but then Daniel Garcia escapes. Both men are on the apron, but then both fight it out. We get a boot by Garcia, but then Starks hits a spear. Both men are on the outside, but a random masked man shows up and gives a right hand, or I should say the Judas effect, on Starks. I wonder who that is. And we get a cover by Garcia back in the ring and wins the match. And the masked man reveals himself in the ring. To no surprise, it is Chris Jericho. Yeah, man. So it looks like they're going to be continuing this story with Ricky Starks and Chris Jericho. I believe this is going to be leading up to a match at Revolution. It's pretty obvious to see where they're going with this. But again, I was not really the biggest fan of them, putting Ricky Starks in this situation because we already have Bryan Danielson going through a similar situation. Granted, it's not a gauntlet match, but still, it's kind of similar if you think about it. And I don't like when AEW tends to overdo stuff like this. I mean, it's fine when MJF does it because MJF will try to differentiate the situation from the previous feud that he would be in. But when it comes to a different feud like Ricky Starks and Chris Jericho, I'm not really that interested. And I think the matches that Chris Jericho and Ricky Starks has had back in a couple of weeks ago on Dynamite was great. But again, I'm not really the biggest fan of Ricky Starks going through hoops like he did with this Garcia-Guevara gauntlet. Now, granted, he lost, but I still think he will be eventually getting a match against Chris Jericho, most likely at Revolution. All right, let's fast forward because we already talked about the amazing Rush and Bryan Danielson match. We have to talk about the Elite. Of course, they are defending their AEW World Trios titles against Top Flight and AR Fox. Now, I'm gonna warn all you guys right now. When I go through this match, if I botch anything on this match, please, I apologize and forgive me, please, because I was taking notes on this match and I couldn't keep track on what the hell I was watching because number one, the match was so fucking amazing. But number two, Dante Martin and Darius Martin, AR Fox, the Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega, all of those guys were just wrestling at such a freaking fast pace that my eyes were literally glued to the screen, and especially those last few moments in the match. I can't recall how many near falls were in this fucking match, but Jesus Christ, and I mean this in a good way. The amount of near falls, especially near the end of the match that we had between both AR Fox and Top Flight against the Elite, there were so many near falls to the point where I'm like, bro, this match is never going to end. It's so good that these guys can just literally fight forever. You always, whenever you have a good match like this, you always have the fans chanting fight forever. This was definitely one of those instances. Top Flight and AR Fox wrestling the Elite was, again, everything that it needed to be. Fast pace, amazing action, and just flat out amazing good pro wrestling. You know, I know a lot of old timers. I'm not gonna name them. They're basically, I'm gonna Voldemort them. They shall not be named. Okay, he who shall not be named. They shall not be named. A lot of them, and you already know who they probably are. They tend to criticize this style of wrestling, and Cody Rhodes said it best on his Impulsive podcast. If the fans are invested in what they are watching, you could do no wrong. The fans were absolutely invested. The fans in El Paso, Texas, appreciated everything that the Elite and Top Flight and AR Fox pulled in this match. This match was pure perfection. The trios, I love the direction where the trios division is going. And again, we do not know who the Elite are going to be wrestling at Revolution. My guess is the House of Black. But the House of Black is in this current scuffle with Eddie Kingston right now. But overall, man, this match was fucking fantastic. And look, if the fans are loving what they watch, you can't do any wrong. It is a style of wrestling. If you don't like it, tough fucking shit. The business evolves. But yeah, man, I'm gonna scramble on this match. But you know, it's really tough to kind of just immediately know what's going on. But Nick and Dante Martin start. Dante goes for the drop kick, and then Dante does the suck it on Matt Jackson. Darius then tags in. We get a double team by Top Flight, but then AR Fox goes for the senton. We get a drop kick by Omega. AR Fox is the legal man. Matt tags in. We get a double team by the Bucks on Darius, but then we get a double drop kick by the Bucks on Dante. Omega then comes in, or I should say tags in. And then after that, we get a chop by Omega on Darius Martin. We got a right hand by Omega, followed by a chop. Later on in the match, we get a triple team by the Elite into the corner. Again, keep note, guys. Literally, this match was so freaking intense that my eyes were glued to the screen that I completely got off guard about what the hell I was writing. But later on, AR Fox goes up to the top later on in the match. He misses a 450, but instead, when he actually lands on his feet from the 450 attempt, he actually hits a senton on Nick Jackson. After that, Fox rolls Omega into the with a cutter. We got a drop kick and a cutter by AR Fox, and then he hits a cutter on Nick Jackson. So crazy shit's going on at this point. Fox flies over the top rope onto the Bucks, and then he hits one on Omega. Once we're back in the ring, he hits a senton on the Bucks, and then he goes to the top. He hits a senton off the top. Sentons left and right, ladies and gentlemen. After that, we get repeated rights by Omega. Omega goes for the top, but then Fox immediately goes up to the top and hits a fucking Spanish fly. Y'all know how much I love my Spanish flies. Dante and Nick tags in, and then we get a drop kick by Dante. Matt tags in, but then Dante goes for the head scissors on Matt. Dante then gets caught in a northern-like suplex, but then Dante counters the third. Darius then tags in, but then Matt goes for a northern-like suplex on both. We get a cover into near fall. Darius goes for a drop kick, and then he goes for the DDT by Darius. Then after that, we get a cover into near fall. The Elite are on the outside, but then Fox goes for a senton over the top rope, followed by a nosedive by Top Flight on Nick Jackson. AR Fox then takes him out. We get a cover, and Omega makes the save. Omega then goes for the Snapdragon suplex. Dante goes for a flying lariat after that. Move after move at this point, ladies and gentlemen. We get a cover to near fall, but then Nick goes for a springboard moonsault. Omega misses a V-trigger attempt. We get a roll-up by Fox, and we get a near fall. Omega goes for the V-trigger after that, and then he hits the Doctor Bomb. AR Fox and Omega then roll each other up. They just completely roll each other up to the point where they're literally scrambling all around the ring, but then Omega finally gets the pin over AR Fox, and the Elite retain the AEW World Trios Championships. Overall thoughts on this match. This match was freaking amazing. Hats off to the Elite and AR Fox and Top Flight. Those guys delivered an absolutely barn burner, banger. I know Sheamus says that all the time on SmackDown, but Jesus Christ, this was a certified banger of a match. I'm being that freaking serious. This match was freaking amazing. And hats off to all of those guys. We got the Acclaimed versus the Guns for the AEW Tag Team titles. I'm not going to go through this match. You guys already know the outcome. But we're headed actually almost an hour into this review. thank you guys for, if you guys are actually watching this review, I want to thank you guys for sticking with me in this AEW Dynamite review. We talked about a lot on this show, this amazing show, I should say. But, yeah, man, the Guns are the new AEW Tag Team Champions. I will give you guys my thoughts after I go through the match. We get a double team by the Guns on Caster. We get a cover into near fall. Caster then ducks, and both Guns get taken to the outside. Bowens then tags in. He takes out both Guns, but then we get repeated elbows by Bowens. Bowens then flatlines Colton Gunn. We get a cover and a near fall. Later on, we got some accidental miscommunication by the Acclaimed. At this point, all wrestlers are down. Bowens, by accident, knocks the referee down. And once the referee gets knocked down, you already know shit's going to go down. After that, Austin Gunn takes him out with a quick drop. After that, Austin Gunn gets the belt. But daddy ass, Billy Gunn comes in for the save. And then what happens is, as soon as Austin Gunn is about to hit Anthony Bowens with the belt, Anthony Bowens ducks, but then he almost lands towards his own father, but then his own father actually holds on to the belts and snatches them away from Austin Gunn. After that, Bowens ducks, Billy blocks, but from behind, Colton hits his own father behind with the belt. Bowens then goes for the arrival after that, so they gain the advantage. Caster goes for the mic drop, and it looks like the match is over. But then after that, the referee has trouble coming in and going for the pin. Later, Bowens rolls him up, but then Austin kicks out. Bowens then gets hit with the belt after Austin pushes him off. We get a roll-up by Austin Gunn, and we get the Guns, the Gun Club, the Ass Boys, winning the AEW World Tag Team Championships. I don't really know what to say. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be brutally honest. I'm not the biggest fan of the Gun Club, in my opinion. They have their fans, and I think they will grow from this. But personally, I'm not really the biggest fan of the Acclaimed dropping those titles from the Guns. Now, I understand that they're trying to build the Guns, and that's great. But if you think about it, the Acclaimed are the hottest tag team in AEW, period. And I'm only talking about in AEW. They are the hottest team in AEW right now. Fortunately, it's not FTR. But, I mean, a lot of people, I've been hearing this on social media, that eventually they're going to have Billy Gunn turn heel and turn on the Acclaimed and join the Guns. My take on this is, I personally do not want Billy Gunn to turn heel, if that is going to be the case. I say that because of the fact that the Acclaimed have been so successful as a tag team, and a large proponent of that has to do with Billy Gunn. Why do you want to throw all of that momentum and success away by turning Billy Gunn heel? I understand he's going to join his sons in this stuff, but again, I wouldn't think it's the right decision to make. I'm not really the biggest fan of the Guns winning the tag team titles. I even stated last week, the Acclaimed shouldn't wrestle, or the Acclaimed shouldn't, drop those titles anytime soon. I always thought that FTR should have taken those titles away from them, but FTR is currently in absence. Maybe, what if this creates a scenario in which AEW did not want the Acclaim to kind of lose their momentum by losing to FTR, and instead they would have the Guns win it, and then FTR would come back and then they'd go for the tag team titles and actually eventually beat the Guns for the tag team titles. If that is actually going to be the case, then I'm fine with that. But again, I'm not really the biggest fan of the Guns winning the AEW tag team titles. Is there going to be some sort of direction for the Guns? Maybe, and I think there will. But again, I'm not really the biggest fan of the Guns, and I don't think that this was the right decision to make. I think the Acclaim should have retained those titles. And if the direction is that they're going to have Billy Gunn turn heel, I think that's an even worse decision because, again, Billy Gunn plays a huge proponent into the success of the Acclaimed, and I don't understand why you want to take away all that momentum from the Acclaimed by turning Billy Gunn heel. That in my opinion, that makes no sense. But, yeah, man, the Guns are your new AEW Tag Team Champions. But, yeah, that was my AEW Championship Fight Night review from February 8th, 2023, emanating from El Paso, Texas. Overall, aside from the Guns winning the tag team titles, this was a fantastic show overall. The wrestling on this show was insane. A lot of people say that WWE is hot right now, and it's very well true. if you're in complete denial that WWE is hot, then I don't know what to tell you. You're just, and I hate using the term tribalism because it's such I guarantee you a year ago, nobody even knew what the word tribalism meant, but I hate to use that word, but there's a lot of tribalist fans there that are in denial that WWE is hot. But let's be honest, WWE is hot, but it's not a situation in which AEW's product is starting to like suffer horribly and their product is like immediately trash. It's not like 2021 when AEW was like at their peak and their hottest and WWE's product was just unwatchable. No, we live in an age right now where both wrestling products are absolutely succeeding very well. And I think right now is the best time to be a wrestling fan at the end of the day. So that is my take on that. But that was my Dynamite review from February 8th, 2023. Overall, fantastic show from top to bottom. Well, except for the Guns winning the titles, but we'll see what AEW's future plan is when it comes before the Guns. But yeah, overall, this was a great show nonetheless. And yeah, that was my Dynamite review. Keep a note that I am not sure when I will be uploading the next episode of the WrestleHavoc Podcast. I believe it's episode 7. The reason why I say that is because of the fact that, of course, Sunday is Super Bowl Sunday, and I'm thinking about uploading it either tomorrow or Saturday, but that's going to be in conflict with the SmackDown review, so I'm going to have to schedule that as fast as I can, but keep note that I'm most likely not going to be uploading episode 7 on Sunday. I'm probably going to do it a little bit earlier because of the Super Bowl, but yeah, man, that was my AEW Dynamite review. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications. I'm on the lookout for more videos right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. And as the freaking referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. But as always, it is Flamin' Rick, Ricky DeRays, signing out. See you guys later.